TMC MP, Mr. Derek O'Brien. Thank you very much, Mr. Derek, for joining us. Let me ask you this first question. Whose responsibility is it to ensure the smooth functioning of the House?
That's clearly in the rules. It's the government's responsibility. But we have a government who don't want Parliament to run, and they are the cause for all these disruptions. You mentioned the names of Sushma Swaraj ji, or Mr. Arun Jaitley, or Mr. Vajpayee, great parliamentarians whose ideology I did not share, but there was so much to learn from them. And what have we come to today? Anyway, so it's government's responsibility, because government is accountable to Parliament is accountable to the people. So once Parliament is not running, the only beneficiary is the BJP government, who don't want to answer questions. So actually, but today the opposition have had a victory, because the suspension of the Rajya Sabha MPs is over. We've been demanding a discussion on the price hike. On Tuesday we shall discuss the price hike. But I think let's leave all the rhetoric out. Since you said whose business is it to run Parliament? So I've got about 6 or 7 little points. Okay. The first one, is it the Prime Minister's business to come at least once in 5 years to answer the question on the floor of the Rajya Sabha? Has he come? He hasn't come. Is it the government's, number 2, is it the government's responsibility to elect a deputy speaker in the Lok Sabha? It's been 3 years, no deputy speaker elected. Number 3, in the budget session last year, is it good that the government passes 27 bills at an average of 9.5 minutes discussion per bill? Who passed the bills? The government. 9.5 minutes discussion per bill. Scrutiny of bills down from 60 to 70%. That's mean the bills are scrutinized. That's down to 12 to 13%. Here's something very interesting. A notice called 267, which is a matter of urgent importance. Urgent importance, 267. In the last so many years, more than 5 years, not even one notice has been taken up, given by the opposition for this government. What else? I can give you more. Today, this morning, there were 2 Lok Sabha ministers, Lok Sabha MPs who are ministers. They are standing up, the 2 ladies in the Rajya Sabha. They are allowed to come, but can they stand up and shout slogans? How many times in the farm bills and in the last 7-8 years have you seen where a member has asked for a vote, a division, and the government says no division, no vote, over. So there are so many examples. So this is not about rhetoric. These are the numbers. This is the reality of Parliament. And the government and the BJP do not want Parliament to run. They have been forced. The opposition dharna has forced them to have a discussion on Tuesday. Today, we concluded our 50-hour dharna with all the suspended MPs and all opposition parties. So, for those of you who are trying to spin who was there, who was not there, all parties were there. The leader of the opposition in Rajya Sabha, Mr. Kharge, sat at the dharna for 2 hours yesterday. And today there were, I think, 11 or 12 opposition parties who went and paid tribute to Mahatma Gandhi ji after the 50-hour dharna was over. In fact, we made a little bit of a mistake there. It would have perhaps been more appropriate if we had not had it a 50-hour dharna, wink, wink. We could have made a 56-hour dharna next time. You know, the 56-inch connection.
Okay. The wink, wink is there. But Derek O'Brien, you see, an important question over here is, has Parliament become a space for parliamentarians' egos and ego massage? You see, what happened on Thursday is an example. She yelled at me, he looked at me, he used this word, that word, right? He should apologize, she should apologize, Rashtrapati, Rashtrapatni, and a weird situation where the government itself has disrupted Parliament. Now, extending the same logic, are we to expect BJP MPs to be suspended? Because they disrupted.
actually the two people responsible for this mess. There are lots of BJP MPs, ministers, who really knew what all Parliament was about. Let me give you some names. Ideologically completely opposed to my party, the Trinamool Congress and I. Ravi Shankar Prasad knew lots about Parliament, check his track record. Prakash Javadekar knew lots about Parliament, check his track record. And so many others who've passed on. But the duo who picked up their experience from the Gujarat Gymkhana, they are clueless about Parliament. They think, hack. I'm sure they brief the leader of the house in the morning in Rajya Sabha and in Lok Sabha say, ye karo. I would humbly appeal to those BJP MPs who believe in this institution to counsel Mr. Modi and Mr. Shah, because I've given you those figures in the beginning. Now you're talking to me about what happened in the Dharna. I've been thinking about this. Actually, democracy was kicked out of Parliament in the last 10 days. It was kicked out of the Parliament building by the BJP, but it was preserved in that 50-hour Dharna. Because what is Parliament? Parliament is where the commitment to the Constitution resides, where people from across parties congregate to preserve the Constitution. That's the idea of Parliament. Come and preserve the Constitution, legislate, deliberate, disagree. This is not the BJP. Now you're telling me there'll be a new building. I'm sure it will be a crackling new building with some fabulous facilities, but it will only be a building. And what we in the opposition, every single opposition party are fighting for, we want a building with people who congregate to defend the Constitution.
Sure.
We want a building with a Constitution figuratively inscribed on every brick in that building. Mr. Modi and Shah, you talked about egos, you asked me a question about egos. This is not about egos. Follow the basic rules. You have the majority virtually, Lok Sabha full majority, in Rajya Sabha almost a manufactured majority by putting pressure on parties with your allies like the ED, etc. Please follow the basic rules. You have, you see, it's the whole saying, opposition must have its say and the government will have its way. Now I can tell you from now, price rise will be discussed on Tuesday. Now after Tuesday, BJP again, this is my two-bit prediction and I'll be happy to be proved wrong.
Sure.
BJP will again keep disrupting Parliament from Wednesday right till the 12th. Why? Because they don't want certain issues to be discussed. They don't want Agnipath to be discussed. They'll make the cock and bull excuse that Agnipath is sub judice. I'll give you 30 examples where sub judice issues are discussed in Parliament. So the problem we've identified. The problem is Mr. Modi and Mr.
that the
Shah.
government is going to disrupt Parliament from Monday onwards because they don't want issues discussed.
No. The government have been trying to get away from this price rise. So they are trying to, imagine this government is talking to us about somebody who addressed, of course, the first lady of the country, the president of the country. Okay, terrible thing to do, terrible. But what is Mr. Modi done in Bengal when he came there to campaign? Didi, sexist, misogynistic. What is the BJP today? The BJP Gujarat, home state of the Gujarat Gymkhana, Mr. Modi and Shah. The rural, I think he's a minister in the cabinet there. What has he gone and done? Misbehaved with women. That must be discussed also in Parliament. So here's the story. If we say price rise is important, the finance minister came to the house today. We want to discuss price rise. What is she talking about? Something completely different. So please, as an opposition member, we are the second largest opposition party, the Trinamool. We want 0 hour to run. We want question hour to run. And it's not only Trinamool, there are lots of opposition parties who have this view. But for God's sake, it cannot be a PR afternoon for the government. You have to come, you have to discuss. And bigger issue also is to scrutinize bills, is to use standing committees to improve bills.
And not just pass bills.
Example.
Okay.
Why didn't you use the techniques which are available to scrutinize the farm bills?
Sure.
That time, why did I get suspended in 2020? Shouldn't you take back my suspension from the records? And 7 of us? Why? Because you did not scrutinize the bills. Then you had egg. Actually, you had omelette on your face because you had to withdraw those farm bills. So, make the new building, but please let's have some soul in that building.
Sure. All right, Derek O'Brien, many thanks for joining us. Thank you so much.